Well, thank you so much for your time, sir. Today, your message was on tax fairness and making sure that the wealthy and corporations pay their fair share in taxes. But right now, for many Americans, life is too expensive. Are you concerned that stubborn inflation will hurt your reelection bid?
Look, we brought down inflation considerably by over 2/3, and it is being stubborn and not going down to the 2% we need, but it's significantly different, number one. Number two, the thing that really affects people's lives are all the small things that add up to big numbers for people. All these junk fees that, for example, for a family like mine growing up, if you bounce the credit card, if you're late to credit card payment, they charge you $35 instead of $3, $4, $5, $8. The same way with a whole range of things. But the biggest thing, the difference between Trump and me, is the value set we bring to this. I'm all about making sure that we make sure that the middle class continues to have a fighting chance. I mean this sincerely now. Grow the middle class. And that way you have the poor have a way up and the wealthy still do well, but they got to pay their fair share. For example, if those 1,000 billionaires just paid 25% in tax instead of 8.3%, we've raised $500 million. $billion. That would change over 10 years.
Do you think a plan like that could get through this divided Congress, though?
Not this one, but we're going to win the House back, I think, and I think we're going to win the Senate, and God willing, and the creek not rising, I'll be president again.
You often talk about growing up. Your dad often said that a job is much more than just a paycheck. It's about dignity and respect. But for many Americans, those paychecks aren't going far. When you look at the price of things like eggs are still expensive, how do you work to get those prices down?
Well, we work to get those prices down by making sure corporate profits are brought under control. But beyond that, look, the fact is we have the strongest economy of any country in the world. We've got more to do. We've got more to do. We've created 15 million new jobs, and the salaries are outpacing the cost of inflation. So there's a lot of good happening, but still, it's those small things that matter in a big way to ordinary people, and that's what we got to work on.
You're spending the next 3 days here in Pennsylvania. You're from this area, you know the people well. Do you feel like you're in trouble here?
Well, you haven't been driving the right places, pal. We have more volunteers, we have more headquarters open, we have more people working for us. Look, we have over 1,600,000 people contributed to us. Many of here in Pennsylvania, tens of thousands of them. And guess what the average contribution is? Less than $200, less than $200. Because almost 97% of all our contributions are from small donors. He hadn't opened a single headquarters here. We've opened multiple headquarters here. He has no presence here.
Former President Trump has spent a lot of his time this year in a courtroom. He directly blames you, President Biden, as being responsible behind those prosecutions. How do you respond to that?
His lack of ethics has nothing to do with me. I have not once talked to anyone in my administration about Trump's legal problems. A lot of them occurred well before I became president, and so I have nothing to do with that. Trump has a value set fundamentally different than most Americans. I mean, whether or not, anyway, I don't want to get into it, but his conduct is, that he's acknowledged, has been beneath what most Americans think.
I want to turn to the Middle East really quick. Yes. A lot of pro-Palestinian protesters, these are people who put you in the White House. They're angry with you right now. They're angry with you right now, though, saying that they're shutting down airports, highways. They're concerned. They want their voices heard when it comes to the situation in Gaza. How do you win their support back?
Well, I've been meeting with them, number one. Number two, I made it clear that we have to vastly increase the amount of food, water, healthcare going into Gaza. And I made it clear to Israelis, don't move on Haifa. It's just not, I mean, anyway, I just, look what we did recently when Israel was attacked. We protected Israel. We put together a coalition that included Arab states as well as the United States and European countries. But we also made clear that we expect all these new avenues into Gaza to be opened up to provide means, and they're beginning to happen. 1,000 trucks moving in. So we've got to do more of that, and I'm committed to doing it.
I want to turn to the supplemental that you sent to the Senate. Passed it. It's still in the House. I understand you spoke to Speaker Johnson yesterday. Do you support the idea of breaking those pieces up into pieces and putting it on the House floor?
No, that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is just send it over, because they have overwhelming number of votes would pass it. But this is, if it's the only thing he can get done, look, this is one of the least functional House leaderships that we've had in a long time, not because of his fault, just the nature of the way Trump has changed the nature of how the House works. But one of the things that I think is, I've agreed with him, that passing each of these individually and separately, we would support as an alternative. The better alternative is just to pass it all right away. And the idea that we're going to walk away and let Putin just continue to annihilate and murder so many innocent Ukrainians, we have an interest in this. NATO is a critical element of American security. And what makes us think, if we don't support the attack by Putin on Ukraine and help stop it, that NATO's going to stay together. So there's so much at stake here. And I believe we can get it all done.
All right, they're giving me the wrap-up sign. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.